And it's a great day to be in Nacogdoches because we have a very honored guest that's going to be introduced shortly. But this has been a long time in coming. The governor has wanted to be in Nacogdoches more than you can possibly imagine. But fate has conspired on several occasions and deprived us of his visit, but not today. And I want to say this, he's gone out of his way, actually changed his schedule, flew in, so he knew he would be here tomorrow. He did not want to call me and say, sorry, Clardy, I'm not coming this time either. So he said, I'm going, and he is here with us. Let's just welcome you, Governor, thank you. And I know that, and the senator's going to do the formal introduction, so we're going to get many opportunities to clap for the governor. But he came in last night. When he finishes speaking today, I want you to know this. He spent some time. Hopefully you've had a chance to see him and greet him and be around him. But the weather is coming in. And I've been advised by his pilots and security detail that he is going to, when he's through, he's going to have to leave immediately. So he wanted me to say he does not want to leave Nacogdoches, but his pilot's telling him that he has to. So that's just the way it is. All right, well, I want to do some recognition. First off, we have some great sponsors. I'd ask Matt Barr with Cheniere Energy to please stand, and Ron Payne with the Texas Healthcare Association. Thank you, gentlemen. This event would not be possible if we didn't have sponsors like the THCA and Cheniere and many others here. If you were a sponsor for the Lone Star Legislative Summit at any level, would you please stand? We'd like to recognize you and thank you for your That's quite impressive. That's a great group of people, but we've had, I think this is the largest ever Lone Star Legislative Summit in terms of the money we've been able to raise to support this, the number of members that we've had here. How do you get any better than having the governor as your keynote speaker? We'll have General Paxton speaking this afternoon at the summit. So it's been a fantastic success. That could not have happened without the hard work and the good work of our chamber crew. So if you are a member of the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce or on the Chamber of Commerce and Nacogdoches staff, would you please stand? Let's thank you for the effort that you've done today. Thank you. And I know Senator Nichols is going to mention his colleagues in the Senate if they're here, but I did want to go through quickly and thank some members that are here that have showed up. And in no particular order, well, if I was doing it right, I put Frulo at the very end. But anyway, he's at the top this time. But I'm going to ask these members, I'll call your names, if you please stand, because these folks have come from literally all over Texas to be here. And it means so much to me serving with them that they care enough about Nacogdoches and East Texas. Some folks say they came here for the program. I think they come here out of morbid curiosity about what I may say. But they're here nonetheless. So if you'd please stand. Representative John Frulo from Lubbock, Ernest Bales down in Liberty, Craig Goldman, Fort Worth, Tan Parker, Denton. You got to stand up and stay standing. There's a reason I need you to keep standing. Barbara Gervin Hawkins. Well, okay, good. She put that, that's wrong. Drew Darby from San Angelo. Phil King from Weatherford. Stan Lambert had to leave, my other Abilene Christian University Wildcat. He had to get back because he's a granddad. Chris Patty, just up the road. Brooks Landgraf from Odessa. Had his flight canceled, and this guy drove from Odessa, Texas to Nacogdoches. And if you've ever made that drive before, that's a hump. All right, we've also got here, I've got Ron Simmons, Gary Van Dever, Gina Hinojosa, Gio Capriglione. It's Giovanni Capriglione, but Gio's here with us. Where are you, Gio? Dan Uberty. We've got Richard Raymond, came all the way from Laredo. For Price, all the way from Amarillo. John Zerwas is here. Chairman Zerwas is in the room. Dustin Burrows came in from Lubbock. Pancho Navarez, I haven't seen Pancho. Hopefully he's here for lunch. He's not a big eater. Pancho's here, came in from Eagle Pass, the other end of the El Camino Real de los Tejas. We also have, I have not seen Eric Johnson this morning. And of course, we have Trent Ashby, my colleague, desk mate, and dear friend from Lufkin, and Mike Schofield. Iron Mike Schofield is here, who'll be joining us on the panels from Houston. So I want you to look, folks, at this crowd of people that we have. And Drew Springer. And Drew Springer. I did save the best for last. All right. But it's a testament to the Texas House of Representatives. You know, folks, we don't get paid a lot to do this job. These guys took time away from their schedules. We all have day jobs to be here in Nacogdoches because these issues are important. And I just want all of us to thank all of you for joining us and making this a special event. Thank you all. And I would be remiss if I didn't do this. We have a number of local officials, not just in Nacogdoches, but surrounding counties. And I would like to see this because all of you that take on these jobs, if you're on a school board or city council or county commission, commissioner's court, if you serve in elected capacity of a hospital board, would you please stand and let us recognize you? We have a bunch of you here. I wish we could do it all by names, but please stand up and let us thank you for your service. Now, I want to ask everybody else that hasn't stand up to stand up so everybody gets some exercise, but we're not going to do that. So at this time, I am going to, again, yield the microphone, which I'm loath to do, but I'm going to invite my good friend Trent Ashby to come forward, and he is going to lead us in the pledges, and after that, Mayor Shelley Brophy is going to lead us in the invocation. Trent?
Thank you, Travis. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Will you bow with me, please? We thank you, Lord, for putting it into the hearts of those who serve in public office. Today, we ask especially that you bless members of our state government that have taken time out of their busy schedules to visit with us in our hometown. May their ongoing work be balanced with insight, understanding, and wisdom. We also thank you for each person here and the gifts you have bestowed on each one. We ask that you bless the citizens of Nacogdoches and those in every city across our great state. We thank you for Stephen F. Austin State University and ask that you bless this great institution. We also ask that you bless those who have prepared and will serve our meal. Bless the food to a nourishment of our bodies. Let us enjoy our time together and visiting with one another, and be with those traveling later today so they arrive home safely. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please continue to eat, but we are going to go forward with our program. This is the part we've all been waiting on. A couple of last introductions I want to make. Standing back there, the dapper gentleman in the blue jacket, the Honorable James White, made it in here. James, hold your hand up, James. There you are. Great to have you back in Nacogdoches. And also, I would be very rude and inappropriate of me not to recognize the First Lady of House District 11, Judy Clardy. If Judy would please stand, I always like to. You know, I tell folks in the district where I campaign, I think my district likes me, but they love Judy. So that works. So, but at this time, I'm going to ask our good friend, a man that truly, this is a cliche, but it's absolutely true, needs no introduction. It's our state senator, Robert Nichols. He's been our state senator for many, many years, does a fantastic job. I will tell you, there's not a harder working senator in the state of Texas than Robert Nichols, and nobody's more dedicated to the interests of East Texas and Stephen F. Austin State University and the city of Nacogdoches and the business community that's represented by our chamber than Robert Nichols. It's an honor and a pleasure to serve with him, and he's going to do us the honor of introducing our speaker, the governor of the state of Texas. Let's welcome Senator Robert Nichols.
Well, first of all, thank all of y'all for being here. This has been a great summit, and y'all could have been anywhere you wanted to be today, but you chose to be here with us, and we greatly appreciate it. I wanted to recognize a couple of my colleagues in the Senate. I've got two of them here at lunch. Brandon Creighton over here. He and I, he's from Conroe. Go ahead and stand up. When we both ran for the legislature at the very same time, 05, 06 campaign. So that's 12, 13 years ago. And he went into the House and later decided to come over to the Senate. And I got Senator Larry Taylor. Where are you? Over here. Chairman of Education. He also served in the House before he came over to the Senate. And so we refer to that as housebroken, when they come over to the Senate. I very much enjoy serving with both of these gentlemen. And I want you to know it is truly an honor to have the opportunity to introduce Governor Abbott today. And as I thought about what I would say, it occurred to me, how do you introduce somebody that everybody in the room already knows? So I thought, well, I could talk about his wife, Cecilia, that they married over 38 years ago, and they went to the University of Texas together. Or I could tell you that he got his law degree from Vanderbilt, then became a district judge in Harris County, then became a Supreme Court judge for the state of Texas. Then he became the longest serving Attorney General for the state of Texas. And that's when I first met him about 15 years ago. I remember when during the Obama administration, he used to say when he was Attorney General that it was the greatest job in the state because every day he would go to work, he would sue the federal government, and then he would go back home. I also remember that he was not just prosecute the law in a fair manner, following the Constitution and the statutes, but he also looked for loopholes in the law. There were criminals. Everybody knows there's loopholes in the law, and he would point those loopholes out to the legislature, and every session we would work to try to close up those loopholes. I know in our office, for 4 different sessions in a row, we carried some of your legislation, Governor, and a lot of other members did as well. And he has never really gotten full credit for the kind of work that he did in that area. Other members took that, but it was a very important thing. His title in those days was General Abbott, which I thought was a pretty cool title for a lawyer, general. I kind of like Governor Abbott better, though. Under his leadership as governor, Texas has been the largest job creator in the United States. We have cut billions in taxes. During his leadership since 2015, we had the largest, literally the largest increase in transportation infrastructure funding in the history of Texas. And now the gross domestic product of the state of Texas is the 10th largest economy on the planet. We are now ahead of Russia. So I like to say they need to quit worrying about the Russians and they need to start worrying about the Texans. During one of the worst natural disaster in the history of the United States, one of the worst, Hurricane Harvey, the night it hit, he was supposed to be here in Nacogdoches. He did the right thing. He immediately did everything, every resource available to him to rescue people. He was absolutely everywhere all the time. And since we're now in the recovery phase, he is still down there all the time in various counties and communities, helping them rebuild. He also went to Washington, D.C., and negotiated a very favorable terms for the state of Texas. The normal reimbursement rate for the locals on disaster money is 25%. He got it down to 10% for the state of Texas. Please give a warm East Texas welcome to Governor Greg Abbott.
Thank you all so much. Thank you for the very warm East Texas welcome. And Senator, thank you very much for your very kind introduction. The Senator, if I could reply to you and let people know what you've been doing. And I know that you represent this area so tremendously well. I know of no district that has stronger representation focused on the constituents of that district. But I've had the opportunity in responding to the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey of spending an extraordinary amount of time with Senator Nichols because in addition to representing what I'll call Central East Texas, his district goes all the way down to Orange County. And there were multiple counties across the state of Texas in his district that were dramatically and devastatingly impacted. And every single time that I would be on the Gulf Coast, there was Senator Nichols. And in fact, it was just 3 weeks ago that I was in Orange, Texas again, and who was there but Senator Nichols. So, Senator, thank you for being so responsive to the needs of your constituents and helping me respond to Hurricane Harvey. With your help and with the money that has been provided by Congress, we are going to rebuild Texas even better than before Hurricane Harvey hit. And I want to thank Representative Clardy for his persistence. Representative Clardy, I got to tell you, he was working hard to get me here and made me commit my firstborn child to being here in August. And it was a hard phone call to call him and let him know that I was not going to be able to attend when I promised him I would be here. But he completely understood about the necessity for me to respond to the folks impacted by the hurricane. And it turned out that I think that very night, you all began to start getting heavy rains up here that continued for a while. And I realized even up here in the Nacogdoches area and in the Lufkin area and some other areas around here, you sustained meaningful flooding. And in fact, the flooding may continue. It looks like you may be getting some rain today. And so, as Representative Clardy mentioned, I'm going to be getting out of the rain way before it comes down. But I do want to spend some time with you. I do want to express my gratitude for the tremendous efforts by all the members of the House and Senate who are with us today. As I will categorize here in a few minutes, I'm going to talk about the way in which Texas leads the entire nation in so many different categories, and that is in part a testament to the focus of the members of the Texas House and Senate, ensuring that Texas has paved the pathway to be the premier state in the United States of America. Give it up once again for the members of the Texas House and Senate who are with us here today. But despite getting to see so many of the great leaders of the House and Senate, despite getting to literally be on what I consider to be the most beautiful college campus in the state of Texas, SFA, candidly, none of those are the highlight of the day for me. What has been the highlight of the day for me is when I first got here today, I got to meet with the Thundering 13, the national champion Little League baseball team who were playing in the World Series for the World Series championship at the time that Hurricane Harvey was here. But I wanted to see them, thank them, and give them something from the governor's office as a testament to the example these young men set for expectations of excellence that we have in the state of Texas. Well, for me, I was given an assignment today. The assignment was the topic about which I am to speak. And the topic was the economic outlook in Texas for the next 3 years. Emphasis on Texas as opposed to what I thought it would be, and that is East Texas. Well, candidly, as a kid growing up in Longview, Texas, I thought that at that time, Longview, Texas was the center of the universe. It was only as I got more educated in life that I realized that in reality, the center of the universe was actually 70 miles south of Longview, Texas, in Nacogdoches, Texas. And this is easy to explain because I, like so many other people in the room, we take great pride every March as we celebrate a day of incredible Texas history, and that is as we celebrate Texas Independence Day. And we hearken back to the heroes of 1836 who declared our independence, those who fought at the Battle of the Alamo, and those who won the Battle of the San Jacinto. And people look at that time period as being the cradle of Texas history, not knowing that they were more than a century off of the time period of the cradle of Texas history, because as so many people in this room know, Texas history really began in 1716 in the first town in Texas, and that is Nacogdoches, Texas. So my point is this, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the exceptionalism of Texas, but everything that Texas is today began right here on the soil of Nacogdoches. It was Nacogdoches that was the originator of what put what became Texas onto the pathway of going on to become the premier state in the United States of America. Now I'm going to come back and talk more about Nacogdoches in a second, but for a few minutes, let's take a step back and look at what Nacogdoches started. Senator Nichols was talking a little bit, and Representative Clardy also a little bit, about the Texas economy. And the Texas economy is quite literally the strongest economy in the entire United States. And I'm not going to use subjective language to talk about that. Let's look solely at the objective data. Last month in the last report, Texas added more than 40,000 new jobs just that 1 month alone. Now let's put this in context. In the last month alone, Texas added more new jobs than there are the total population of Nacogdoches, Texas. For the past year, Texas has added about 300,000 new jobs. And let's put that in context. If you count every man and woman and child, unemployed or employed, living in Nacogdoches, plus those living in Lufkin, plus those living in Tyler, plus those living in Waco, it would not add up to as much as the total number of new jobs just created in the last year alone. And the result of all those new jobs is record low unemployment. This past year, Texas hit the lowest unemployment rate ever recorded for the state at 3.8%. You know who beat that? Nacogdoches, which hit 3.7%, even lower than the state of Texas unemployment rate. That little first town of Texas, Nacogdoches, has led to what has turned into the state that has led all states in the entire United States of America today in exports for 16 years in a row. And there's other objectively verifiable criteria. Last month, I received an award from Site Selection. Site Selection goes and uses objective metrics to determine the state that is #1 in the nation for economic development. The way that they rate that is they look at the state that has the most new and expanded business and corporate facilities and the number of people they're hiring and the amount invested. And I'm proud to tell you, Texas was #1, and I received what's called the Governor's Cup in recognition of that lofty ranking. Now, the big deal about this is not that we won it. The big deal is that this is the 6th year in a row that Texas has won this national championship as a testament to the vibrancy of economic development in the Lone Star State. And it's funny, I was listening to Senator Nichols, and he was absolutely right when he was talking about the mathematical magnitude of the state of Texas. If we were our own country, our economy would be larger than Russia. But I was, as the chief executive of Texas, I was actually, Senator, looking at it through a different lens, and that is, With Texas being larger than Russia, that makes me more powerful than Putin. But that's the backdrop. What I'm here to tell you today is that all of the success economically that Texas has achieved is absolutely nothing compared to what is going to be happening over the next 3 to 5 years. Let me walk you through this through various different sectors, one of them being energy. As you know, Texas leads the nation in energy production, but it's become so prolific that now the United States of America is competing with and may soon surpass the amount of oil produced by Russia and the amount of oil produced by Saudi Arabia. And that's because of the new technologies that have been tapping into the fields of the Permian Basin, and also the magnitude of the size of the basins that were actually unknown about 5 or 10 years ago. But it also includes, very importantly, an aspect that will impact this region very powerfully here in the coming years. And that's because there have been some announcements made already. There may be more forthcoming about a dramatic expansion in exploration and production of natural gas, all within a 50 to 100-mile radius of where we are right now. The energy boom is hitting Central East Texas once again, and that will power your pocketbooks even more and create even more jobs in this region. But also, I literally saw the future for what this means to the economy of the state of Texas during my recent trip to India. During my recent trip to India, I had the opportunity to meet with the largest company, or actually the second largest company in India. It's called Reliance Industries, and they are focused on, among other things, some energy-based issues that they operate out of Houston. But also, I had the opportunity to meet with Prime Minister Modi, and we had a great conversation about what India's future is and how that future can and will partner with Texas. And understand the context. The fastest growing economy in the entire world of any country of any type of meaningful size is India. Its economy is growing at about 7 to 7.5% per year. To put that in context, the United States of America economy is growing between 2 and 3% per year. India currently has the second highest population of any country, just behind China, but India will soon surpass China in population. They have more than 1.3 billion people, and much of that will be growing into the middle class over the coming decades. And so if Texas, the fastest growing economy in the United States, hitches its wagon to the fastest growing economy among countries in the entire world, our growth trajectory will be powered even more. As we speak today, Texas currently exports about $3.5 billion of goods and services to India. You can look at that doubling and tripling and quadrupling and maybe quintupling just over the next decade. And let me explain to you one of the biggest catalysts for that, and that's the energy industry. While I was in India, India received its first receipt of LNG that was shipped by a Texas-based company, Cheniere, who is with us here today. It was the first shipment of a 20-year contract of LNG being shipped to India. And then Cheniere is going to be expanding within the next calendar year, opening up another LNG facility in the Corpus Christi area. Separate from Cheniere, sorry about the other advertisement, I won't mention the other company, but there will be also another LNG export facility in Freeport that should be online within the next year. Texas is going to be one of the premier natural gas exporters across the entire globe. And that is on top of the fact that now Texas is able to export oil. And it was last year that India received its first shipment of oil from the state of Texas. So if you just look at energy exports and the exploration and production that generates those exports. That alone would power the next 5 to 10 years of the Texas economy into the stratosphere. But it just gets better from that. Because whenever we have such prolific access to energy that's coming out of the Permian Basin or coming out of the Haynesville area in this region, that energy has to go somewhere in order for it to be processed. The main place that energy is going is to the Gulf Coast region. And when I say Gulf Coast region, I'm talking about everything ranging from Beaumont all the way around the entire Gulf Coast down to Brownsville. We're going to see dramatic expansions of manufacturing facilities, processing facilities in each of those regions, as well as these LNG plants. And there's an absolute buzz of activity going on in these regions with high-paying manufacturing jobs, averaging $65,000 per year, that are stoking those economies. So we could just exist on energy alone and know that the future economy for the entire state of Texas, including the Nacogdoches area, would be expanding and growing and profiting and being more prosperous than ever before. But the dynamic thing about the state of Texas is that energy today is only a small component of what our economy is, but more importantly, whatever our economy is going to be. Because the truth of the matter is that Texas is far more than just an energy state. Take the medical arena and the biotech arena, for example. Already as we gather today, Texas is home to the largest medical center in the entire world, and that is the Texas Medical Center in Houston, Texas. We have the #1 cancer hospital. We have a premier famed heart centers, and we have some of the most renowned medical schools across the state, most renowned schools across the entire country. And now we're turning that medical infrastructure into a biotech bonanza. Here's what's going to happen over the next few years. It's happening as we gather today. Something that will be announced soon is a meaningful confirmation of the burgeoning expansion of what's called TMC3. TMC stands for Texas Medical Center. 3 is its third iteration. Adjacent to the Texas Medical Center in Houston, Texas, we are in the beginning stages of building out a massive biotech corridor. In Austin, Texas, there's a brand new University of Texas Medical School that's been created. What a lot of people don't know yet is the pre-planned biotech and life sciences research corridor that starts at the University of Texas Medical School in Austin and goes south for block after block after block. And we've already landed the cornerstone tenant, which is Merck, who will help expand that process. And then in addition to that, the same thing is happening up in Dallas, Texas, with the University of Texas Southwestern Medical School, where they are leading the nation. And so many advancements, some of which are cancer-related, but many of which are related to diseases and challenges of the brain. And I believe that during our lifetime in Dallas, Texas, they're going to make breakthroughs in dealing with Alzheimer's and help us find results and solutions for those who are suffering from Alzheimer's. And so when we're looking at these different types of projects, we are not talking about research projects. We're talking about entire research corridors, which in the aggregate will add over 100,000 new high-paying jobs over the coming decade. And then separate from biotech, there's high tech. And let's talk about where we are and what's happened in just the past week. In Austin, Texas today, Austin is home to the second largest campus for Apple in the entire globe. There was just opened this last month for the second largest software company in the world, Oracle. They opened up a 27-acre new campus, hiring a bunch of new people here in the state of Texas. Then, earlier this week, they just announced that they are going to nearly double the size of the campus they just opened. But here's the deal. You've heard the stories before about this high tech that's taking place and growing very prolifically in Austin, Texas. The reality, though, is that high tech employment in Dallas and Houston far exceeds the high tech employment in Austin, Texas. This is not an Austin-based issue. This is a complete state of Texas issue. Now, you may be saying, yeah, Abbott, that may be true. It may be true for Houston and Dallas and Austin. But what about us? What about Nacogdoches? Well, let me tell you about Nacogdoches. I'm sure some of you have heard about Hydrex Environmental. If not, I'm getting some nods, yes. Get this. This is a quintessential example of the technology of the future. Because Hydrex Environmental, they provided drones that were used in the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey to take images that were provided to insurance companies for adjustment purposes. And they are not the only drone user in this region. This is just one of a multitude of different types of technologies that is the new tech of the world. And speaking of which, here again, I had a new tech experience when I was in India. I was in Bangalore to meet with an Indian-based company named Wipro that has its U.S. offices in Plano, Texas. In fact, the CEO for Wipro is headquartered in Plano, Texas. And when I was at their campus in India, I used an iPad to navigate one of these autonomous vehicles that operates without any steering wheel or any driver whatsoever. And then I got into the vehicle itself and was able to do that. But the cool thing about it is that while I was there, Wipro announced that they are opening the Texas Technology Center in Plano, Texas, where the future generations of this type of technology will be made by Texans in Texas, powering the Texas economy. They're adding 150 jobs immediately, leading up to 500 total new jobs that are very high-paying jobs in the Plano region, making sure that Texas will remain at the forefront in the advancements of technology. So let's look at a complete different sector. How about finance? Let me tell you a story that comes out of the Dallas Morning News that is even more true today than it was when it was written by the Dallas Morning News, which was about a year ago. Because I'm telling you a Texas-based story, you're going to know the answer to this question when it comes to you, but the Dallas Morning News asked, which of these cities has the highest percentage of their workforce or the highest concentration of their workforce focused on the finance sector? Is it New York? Is it Boston? Or is it Dallas? Well, obviously you know the answer to the question is Dallas. But I think probably many of you are surprised about that. In fact, some of you even don't believe me as I tell you. But the reality is that there have been so many finance offices opened up and that will be opening up in the Dallas region and across the state of Texas. It's unbelievable. And these are great paying jobs, and there's very good reasons why this is happening. When I was a kid growing up in Longview, Texas, if you wanted to be involved in finance, you had to be located in New York City. With the evolution of the way that technology works, the reality is that is no longer the case. And New York City, candidly, has something that Texas does not have. They have a very high income tax, an income tax that Texas will never have. I just got back from earlier this week from ringing the opening bell, actually the closing bell for the NASDAQ. I was there for the opening bell with CNBC the following day. Here's the point. I talked to a lot of people in the finance sector in New York. And to a person, they kept telling me over and over and over again, Governor, people are leaving New York fast, coming or going to the state of Texas because of the governance that you have in Texas, and because of the low cost of living you have in the state of Texas, and because of the tax structure that you have in the state of Texas. And so this burgeoning finance industry will continue to grow. Let me mention one other sector, and then we'll come back to Nacogdoches. There is a manufacturing renaissance that's taking place in the state of Texas, but it's not the same type of manufacturing that occurred decades ago. This is new manufacturing, and these are large facilities, and they employ modern technology, including automation. And so they're not hiring as many people as before, but they are hiring a lot of people, and all of these companies are wanting to come here to the state of Texas and grow in the state of Texas. Some quick examples. One, once again, when I was in India, I met with the largest steel manufacturer in India, and we announced that they are spending $500 million in Baytown, Texas, to open up or not to expand a steel production manufacturing facility that will hire 500 Texans to manufacture steel that is needed in our oil and gas fields. Also, there was an announcement earlier this week by Dow Chemical Company and DuPont that goes into what I was talking about earlier in the energy sector about all the types of manufacturing facilities that are popping up around the Gulf Coast, because Dow Chemical and DuPont announced a $100 million investment in a manufacturing facility in Orange, Texas. And then a couple of months ago, I and current U.S. Energy Secretary Rick Perry were there for an announcement by Tenaris of a $1.8 billion pipe mill in Bay City, which is about 75 miles outside of Houston, where they are employing 500 employees in this automation-type steel manufacturing facility. And then to show you the diversity that we're having in manufacturing, last month I was in Cleburne, Texas, where we announced the Mexico's largest pasta manufacturer, La Moderna, where they invested $50 million to open their U.S. headquarters right there in Cleburne. To give you a feel for this, the size of this facility is the size of 3 football fields. They're adding hundreds of new jobs, but what stuck out to me is they manufacture each day 1 ton of pasta. If you have needs for pasta, I think they can satisfy it. But listen, all of this is just a sampling of an explanation of why this past year Texas had 6 of the top 10 fastest growing counties in the entire United States of America. The fact of the matter is that more and more people are moving to Texas from across in the entire country. And top among them is people moving to Texas from California. Now I say that with some pause, because the fact of the matter is, every time people hear about this, I get flooded with complaints. I've actually stopped doing what Rick Perry did. Rick Perry used to brag about all these jobs coming from California. If we get any type of job from California, it's the silent game. I'm not telling anybody. But this is what I've decided to do. And I tell my friend, the state representative from Laredo, he will understand this. And that is, we've grown so frustrated. Texas, in fact, we're going to come out of our own pocket. And I will be urging this next session that Texas spend the money to finally build that wall. The wall, however, is not going to be built between Texas and Mexico. Instead, the wall would be built between Texas and New Mexico, so we can stop all of the Californians who are flooding into the Lone Star State. But all of this, as you might imagine, brings me back to the center of the universe, which is Nacogdoches, Texas. The growth that we've seen across the state of Texas, as well as the jobs and the prosperity that come with it, all of that is now expanding in the Piney Woods. And it's more than just that increase in energy and natural gas production that's going to be coming very soon. Importantly, what started in Nacogdoches centuries ago spread across the entire state of Texas and led to unimaginable success. Now that success is flowing back to the Nacogdoches area. We've seen it in my office in the number of projects that are popping up in our Economic Development Division. I can tell you without naming names that in our office as we speak right now, we have 6 projects that come from cities within a 100-mile radius of where we speak, where companies are looking to try to expand right here and are seeking Texas Enterprise Fund grants to make sure that that will assist them in locating their program right here. The fact is, all across East Texas, whether it be from just south of the Red River or all the way down to the Gulf Coast, businesses are growing here because of what you have to offer. One that recently opened that was also a recipient of one of the grants from my office was the Roy O. Martin OSB plant in Corrigan. It was a $280 million investment that has led to the hiring of hundreds of people and the spurring of even more economic growth in the region. But that's just an example of this region capitalizing on its very natural strengths. One of your natural strengths, of course, is timber, and there's high demand for timber that looks like it will continue for a long, long time. You have an abundance of water, a natural resource that other regions of Texas are begging for. In fact, you are basically the East Texas version of Midland. Midland is swimming in oil, you're swimming in water. Somewhere between the two, I think you can match up and make a ton of money. And then there's the outdoors. The fact of the matter is the outdoor recreation arena, whether it be hunting or fishing or camping, leads to a $300 billion economic impact in the nation every year. And what better place is there for those activities than right here in the greater Nacogdoches region? And then there is this new tool that has been provided to you very unexpectedly that I really want you to capitalize on. And these are called opportunity zones. This is a byproduct of the recent federal tax reform, and I'm going to make sure that you understand this. I know so many people in the room do, but this is what you call a bird's nest on the ground that you need to be able to take advantage of. The Federal Tax Reform Act authorized states to designate what are called opportunity zones. What opportunity zones do is they give investors a tax credit for investing in their unrealized capital gains into the designated zones. And we made requests to all the local governmental bodies that were provided to the governor's office, and we have announced there are 6 designated opportunity zones for Nacogdoches. There are 6 dedicated opportunity zones for Angelina County. These opportunity zones are physical geographic regions where you get to go in and attract the types of businesses that you want here. And the capital exists to fund this. And so it's going to be left up to your imagination, your hard work, your inspiration, and your salesmanship about why they should be investing in Nacogdoches, why they should be investing in Lufkin or whatever region you're from. But because of this tool, it's going to be a huge economic boon for the entire area that will attract capital investment that will elevate your economy even higher. And I want you to know that as you go through this process, my office and the economic development team that we have stands ready and available to work with you, whether it be on enterprise fund grants or whether it be on opportunity zone pursuits. We're here to help you out. And the last thing I'll mention is something that will also be a boon to your economy. And it's a boon to the economy wherever it exists, but also it's important to understand the magnitude that you have it here, and that is our education system. What employers are looking for is a good qualified workforce. And let me put this in context. I've had the opportunity of spending time with executives from Amazon, and this was long before they started talking about expanding in the state of Texas. And as they were adding facility after facility, I finally asked the executives the obvious question, and that is, why is it that you keep growing and expanding in Texas so much? Thinking they were going to tell me, well, it's because your taxes are lower, your regulations are more reasonable, and because it's just a whole lot easier doing business in the state of Texas. That's not what they said. Instead, what they said was immediate and unequivocal. They said they are growing in Texas because Texas has the best workforce in the United States of America. That workforce is a byproduct of those involved in our education system. So what we have to do as a state, but what we need you to do at the local level, is to spur that, especially through your high school programs that can be involved in the process of training people for good job skills that employers are looking for, understanding this very important principle. As the Senator listed in my bio, yes, I graduated from the University of Texas. It's my fault, Trent, that I didn't go to Texas A&M University. But also I graduated from law school. That was the right pathway for me, but that is not the right pathway for everybody. I learned this very meaningfully when I met a young man named Justin. Justin got a 2-year certificate from Texas State Technical College in welding. For him, it was the right pathway. For him, his first year on the job was 2013, and he made $130,000. His second year on the job as a welder was 2014, and he made $140,000. I told Justin, man, if I'm not reelected as governor, I'm going to TSTC, and I'm going to get a welding certificate and make some real money. My point is that whether it be the training that you can provide students in high school, whether it be programs like Angelina College, whether it be programs like what SFA offers, you have so many options and opportunities to provide students in this region with the education and the job skills they need in order to be able to succeed as individuals, but also be able to fill the job openings that employers are demanding. Well, let me just close with this, kind of going back to where I began. Over 300 years ago, people in Nacogdoches wrote the very first chapter in the legendary history of the great state of Texas. The difference between then and now is that the people who were here at that time are no longer with us. Instead, the people here now are the people in this room. And just like in the aftermath of the people who wrote the very first chapter in Nacogdoches and what became the state of Texas, passed the baton on to the next generation, who carried and lifted up the state of Texas to higher heights. And with each generation passed the baton on, the baton has now been passed to you. And what you need to do is to pick up that baton and carry it forward. Because now is your time to write the next chapter in the extraordinary history of Texas. Now is your time to determine the destiny of what Texas will look like in the coming decade and century. What I know is with the traditional Texas spirit, with the DNA that you have in your heart and soul, your burning desire to ensure that East Texas, as well as the entire state of Texas, remains the most exceptional state in the United States, you will pick up that baton, you will run with it, and Texas will remain the premier state. So thank you for what you do. God bless you all, and may God forever bless the great state of Texas. Thank you for your help.
Thank you, Governor. And I know you've got to go, but as a small token of our appreciation, we have for you a beautifully handcrafted pecan and mesquite wood tray. Now, Governor, I hate that you have to go because we were going to pass this around and may take up a collection for your campaign, but if you've got to go, you got to go. Okay, all right. But that was made by our chief of police here in Nacogdoches, Jim Seavey, our chief of police, made that. So that's law enforcement as well. So thanks so much. My son, Luke Clardy. Luke, if he is going to help carry that out for you, Governor. I know you've got to go, but let's give Governor Greg Abbott another East Texas thank you and welcome for being here.